Joselle's POV. I was already running late when the train doors slammed shut on my sleeve. It yanked me back hard enough to spill what was left of my coffee across my jeans. Perfect. Monday mornings had officially declared war on me. Between a dead phone alarm, burnt toast, and now caffeine homicide, I was running on fumes and bitterness. If hell had a rush hour, this was it, I muttered, freeing my sleeve with a jerk as the subway lurched forward. The air smelled like metal, sweat, and cheap perfume. People pressed shoulder to shoulder, half-asleep faces, tired hands gripping poles, that familiar hum of exhaustion. I clutched my backpack tighter, squeezing into a corner spot. I was scrolling through my phone, pretending not to exist, when I noticed him. He was sitting across from me, mid to late 20s maybe. His hair was this messy, too long kind that curled near his ears. A worn denim jacket, white shirt underneath, paint smudged faintly along his wrists. His fingers were stained with color, the kind that doesn't quite wash off, no matter how hard you try. At first, I thought he was just sketching to kill time, a quiet commuter doing something artsy before work. But then his eyes lifted, just for a second, and met mine. Not in that weird staring way. More like he was studying light, observing me like I was part of a scene he'd already imagined. I blinked and looked away, annoyed at myself for even noticing. The train rattled. I focused on my reflection in the dark window, trying to shake off the weird prickle in my chest. My stop was next. When the train slowed, I shifted to move closer to the door. That's when I caught it. The page. He tilted his sketchpad slightly as he adjusted his grip, and my brain short-circuited. It was me. The slouched posture, the dark hoodie, even the tiny scar along my neck from a skate accident 3 years ago. He'd captured it all, clean and sharp, like he'd known me for years. The kind of detail you only notice when you've been looking for a while. My breath hitched. "You've gotta be kidding me," I whispered. Before I could even process it, the train doors hissed open and the crowd shoved me forward. I stumbled out, heart hammering in my throat. The doors shut behind me, sealing him and that sketch on the other side. I stood there on the platform, trying to catch my breath. My reflection flickered in the glass, and I muttered under it, "Creepy art freak." But the insult didn't stick. It felt too defensive, too desperate to cover the flush creeping up my neck. Because the truth was, the guy hadn't looked creepy. He looked focused. Sure, it was invasive as hell, but there'd been something in the way his eyes moved. Quiet confidence, not arrogance. Like he already knew what he was doing, and the world would just catch up later. And damn it, I couldn't shake that look. Same evening. I should have taken the long route back home from class. Instead, I took the tunnel and found my face staring back at me. It was late evening, and the subway was quieter than usual. The kind of quiet that made your footsteps sound like they didn't belong to you. I had a cheap vending machine coffee in hand, trying to fight off the fog in my head. Then I saw it. A smear of color on the far wall. At first, I thought it was just another graffiti piece. But as I walked closer, my pulse started doing that uneven, uneasy thing again. The colors came together, soft shadows, bold strokes, and then it hit me. It was me. Half finished, shirtless, painted like I was someone worth studying. The same tilt of my head, the same scar near my neck. But this time, my eyes looked softer, open. Like he'd stripped away every defense I had and painted what was underneath. "No way," I whispered. "This is me?" I circled closer, coffee forgotten, staring at the exposed lines of skin on the wall that shouldn't even exist. The detail was so real, it almost felt like breathing. My fingers brushed the paint before I could stop myself, and I could still smell it. Fresh. Whoever had done this was just here. The worst part? It wasn't even done. The chest, the shoulders. They were bare, like he hadn't decided yet whether to give me a shirt or not. It looked wrong, vulnerable, too intimate. "What kind of lunatic does this?" I muttered, backing up a step. But deep down, the anger didn't sound right. It wasn't clean or justified. it was mixed with something else. Something heavier that burned low in my chest. Because whoever he was, he'd seen me. Not just what I looked like, but the way I slouched, the way I avoided eye contact, the way I probably didn't even realize I was being watched. That shouldn't have felt intimate, but it did. Then my eyes landed on a set of paint cans and stencils tucked behind a concrete column. Fresh spray paint. A rag with streaks of color that matched the ones on his hands. It was him. Subway guy. Before I could think twice, I grabbed one of the black cans, shook it until the rattle echoed in the tunnel, and sprayed straight across the mural. Thick black lines cut through my painted face. "Draw that next time," I muttered through clenched teeth. My hand was shaking. I didn't even know if it was from anger or adrenaline. That's when I heard it. Footsteps echoing faintly from the other end of the tunnel. A low voice, too far away to make out words, but familiar enough to send my stomach into a free fall. Without looking back, I bolted. My pulse thundered in my ears, and the smell of paint clung to me all the way up the stairs. On the train later, I stared at my reflection in the window. My breath fogged the glass. "Why did it feel like I just destroyed something important?" I whispered. 2 weeks later, the universe must hate me. Out of all the people in this city, my new roommate had to be him. The art guy. I was done with chaos. After 2 weeks of sprinting across town and nearly missing every class, I found a cheap apartment near campus. The pictures online looked half decent, the rent didn't bleed me dry, and it was a 10-minute walk to class. I didn't even bother asking who the current tenant was. Maybe that was my first mistake. The second was walking through the door. The smell hit me first. Paint, turpentine, something earthy and permanent. I froze mid-step, duffel bag slung over my shoulder. Canvases leaned against the walls, a few open sketch pads scattered across the coffee table. Someone lived here, all right. Someone messy. Someone artistic. And then I saw him. Ash brown curls, calm gray eyes, charcoal-stained fingers, sketch pad in hand. He looked up. "Oh," I blinked. "You've got to be kidding me." He blinked back, unbothered. "You're the guy from the subway." "No, you're the guy who turned me into graffiti." The art guy, I didn't know his name yet, set the sketch pad down like this was no big deal. Technically, it was a mural. Technically, it was vandalism, I snapped, dropping my bag with a thud. Subjective. Subjective. I threw up my hands. "You spray painted my nipples onto public transit property." He actually smiled. Just a tiny one, but it made my pulse spike. "You noticed the detail work, huh? Are you serious right now?" "Very." He got up, stretching his back, and I swear even the air around him felt slower, calmer, infuriatingly calm. I glared. What's your name again?" He wiped his hands on a rag. "Luciano." "Of course it is," I scoffed. "Figures you'd have a name that sounds like a damn perfume line." He tilted his head. "And you?" "Joselle." "Ah." He smiled again, like he was filing it away. "Joselle, it suits you." I blinked, caught off guard. "What's that supposed to mean?" He shrugged. "Just fits the way you look when you're irritated." I opened my mouth to fire back, but nothing came out. I hated that he could get under my skin that fast. The next few days were chaos. He worked at night mostly, which meant I woke up to the smell of paint and the sound of brush strokes. I banged drawers louder than necessary, clattered dishes, stomped around, anything to make it clear that I wasn't comfortable. It didn't matter. He just ignored it. Everywhere I turned, there were sketch pads. On the kitchen counter, near the couch, by the goddamn shoe rack. Every single one had me in it. Sometimes asleep, sometimes frowning, once even eating cereal. I cornered him one morning, holding up a page. "Are you obsessed with me or something?" He didn't look up from his canvas. "You make good composition." "That's my face." "Exactly. Not a compliment, dude. He finally turned then, meeting my glare with those maddeningly calm gray eyes. You're expressive. Most people aren't. I didn't even know how to respond to that. My pulse kicked up, but I forced a scoff and tossed the sketch back onto the table. Well, find someone else to be your art supply, Da Vinci. He shrugged, unfazed. You're already here. Unbelievable. I stormed off to my room, slamming the door harder than necessary. In the mirror above my dresser, I caught a glimpse of my own reflection. Flushed cheeks, hair a mess, chest rising too fast. I looked pissed. But underneath that, there was something else. Something I didn't want to name. I sat on the edge of the bed, running my hands through my hair. He's such a douchebag, I muttered to no one. A calm, paint-stained, infuriating douchebag. That night, when the apartment went quiet, I heard it again, the faint sound of charcoal scraping paper. The rhythm was soft, hypnotic almost. He's sketching again, I whispered, staring at the ceiling. For a second, I thought about getting up, telling him to knock it off, but I didn't. Instead, I turned toward the wall between our rooms, closed my eyes, and listened. And maybe, just maybe, I smiled. A month in. It's been a month, and I've made peace with the fact that my roommate treats me like his walking sketchbook. Every other evening, while I'm typing away on my laptop or pretending to study, I can feel Luciano's eyes burn holes into me, then hear that scratch of his charcoal hitting paper. And now, I don't even pretend to be annoyed anymore. Hell, sometimes I'm curious to see how he sees me. The morning sun drips through our half-open curtains, warm and lazy. I'm in the kitchen flipping eggs when he sets up his sketch pad on the counter stool like it's an audience. Don't you ever draw anything else? I ask, not looking at him. I do, Luciano says, voice quiet but sharp. But you move better than anything else I could draw. That's creepy, I mutter, but I can't help the laugh that slips out. You make me sound like a dance video. He smirks. You kind of are. You fidget when you cook. It's like watching chaos in real time. Wow, I deadpan. You should try eating my chaos then. I'd rather capture it. His gaze lingers a bit too long, and I feel it, like static on skin. Later that week, I hover behind him while he sketches on the couch. I don't mean to stare, but his focus is magnetic. His fingers move quick and certain, charcoal sliding over paper like he's chasing something only he can see. You want to pose again? He asks without looking up. Hell no. Shame, he says, smirking. You're good light today. I roll my eyes but hide the smile tugging at my mouth. You're ridiculous. Yeah, he says, glancing up at me with a soft grin. And you're not as grumpy as you think. Duh. That night, when he's asleep, I go to grab my phone from the art table and stop. There's a half-finished canvas propped against the wall. Me, asleep on the couch, shirt twisted, mouth barely parted. It's messy but alive, like he caught me mid-dream. I stare for too long. You shouldn't snoop around my stuff. His voice comes from behind me. Groggy, amused. I turn, startled. You painted this from memory? He rubs his neck, eyes heavy with sleep. Yeah. Why? Luciano's answer comes slow, almost careful. Because you don't look at yourself the way I see you. Silence sits between us, heavy, alive. I can hear my heartbeat in it. I didn't know I looked like that, I mumble, stepping back. That's because you're too busy hiding from mirrors. His tone isn't cruel. It's soft, annoyingly soft. After that night, things changed. Not in an obvious way, but enough. I find myself hanging around the studio corner when he paints. Sometimes I bring him snacks during his all-nighters, or tease him about being the world's most underpaid muse. He always rolls his eyes, but his mouth twitches like he's fighting a smile. Our hands brush when I pass him a mug, and it's stupid how fast we both pull away. Or how quiet the air gets when we realize we're standing too close again. Weekend. There's a local art event down by the park. He's been invited to paint outdoors, and I tag along because, well, I didn't want to stay home alone. That's what I tell myself anyway. Luciano set up near a fountain, sleeves rolled up, paint streaked on his forearm. He's laughing at something Rhea says, a former model of his, confident, beautiful, loud. She sweeps into the apartment like she owns it, kisses his cheek, and calls him Lou. I try not to look, but it's impossible not to. Something tightens in my chest. Rhea turns, catches my stare, and smirks. Your muse looks jealous. Luciano just keeps painting, lips curving, doesn't deny it, and damn him for that. That night, I kept my earbuds in, pretending to be glued to my laptop. He moves around the apartment quietly, as if he knows I'm avoiding him. When I finally crawl into bed, my brain won't shut up. Your muse looks jealous. I toss the pillow over my face. I'm not jealous. I'm not. Except I kind of am. A few days later, we barely talk. He sketches less, and the silence feels weirdly loud. I catch him watching me sometimes, like he's waiting for me to say something. I don't. Finally, one night, he sighs and says, "You're acting like I cheated on you." "Please," I shoot back. "You're not my boyfriend." He tilts his head. "Then why do you sound like I am?" That hits somewhere I don't want to admit. "Go to hell," I mutter. He grins, tired but knowing. "Already there, Giselle. You brought me." I want to stay angry, but I can't. The tension's too warm, too alive, too confusing. When I turn away, I hear his quiet laugh. It's small, real, and for a second, I almost laugh too. Almost. A week in. I keep telling myself it's not jealousy. It's not. It's just irritation. Or curiosity. Or whatever word feels safer than hurt. Luciano's been busy lately. Out with Rhea a lot. Or maybe it's just my overthinking mind assuming that. Coming home late with paint on his hands, and that quiet half smile that used to be for me. He doesn't sketch me anymore, at least not in front of me, but I can tell he's still working on something. The faint smell of turpentine that lingers when he leaves, the streaks of charcoal dust on the table, the brushes soaking in a glass, like he'd rushed out mid-stroke. I hate that I notice. I hate that it matters. That afternoon, I came home early from class, juggling my backpack and a cup of coffee, already rehearsing excuses to tell myself for why I was peeking into his room. He wasn't home. The door was slightly open, like an invitation I knew I shouldn't accept. Inside, the air was thick with paint and something warmer, familiar. My eyes swept over piles of sketches scattered everywhere. I am in different forms, reading, sleeping, stretching, scowling. It was like stepping into someone's secret. And then I saw it. A pamphlet half tucked under a sketch pad. Art exhibition. This weekend down the lane. It was today, the art exhibition. A part of me just knew that he might be there. The gallery was small and packed, with white walls that smelled of varnish and pretension. I told myself I was just there to look, just curious. But my heart was already looking for him. And it found him, laughing with some guy near a table of wine glasses. Luciano looked relaxed, like he belonged there. His curls framed his face, shirt sleeves rolled, paint smudged near his wrist. I almost forgot why I was mad until my eyes drifted across the wall and froze. There it was. Me. Same painting, from the day he sketched me for the first time in the subway. But it had more of his imagination in it. My face, my bare shoulders, the mural reborn on canvas. The same vulnerable expression I'd only ever seen in his sketches, but this time, the whole room could see it too. Heat rushed through me, my chest tight, throat dry. That wasn't art. That was me, stripped open. I turned around before anyone could notice my face matching the damn painting. I didn't even realize I was shaking until I dropped my cup, coffee splattering across the tiled floor. He came home late that night, humming softly, the kind of mood he gets when things go right. I was waiting on the couch, still in my jeans from class, still mad. When he saw me, he froze. "Hey, you're up." "Yeah," I said flatly. "Hard to sleep when your roommate's busy displaying your half-naked body to strangers." His brows furrowed. "You saw the show." "I saw my face," I snapped. "You had no right to show that." He set his bag down slowly, eyes calm in that infuriating way of his. "It's art, Joselle." "It's me," my voice cracked, frustration spilling out. "You don't get to use me like you matter." The room went silent. The words hit harder than he probably meant them to. My mouth opened, then closed. My throat felt raw. "Guess I don't," I muttered. For a second, I thought he'd say something, but he didn't. I packed quietly, threw my books into the duffel, and yanked my charger from the wall. He stood there, watching, guilt flickering in his expression. But he still didn't stop me. When I grabbed my hoodie from the desk, a paper slipped out from beneath a sketch pad. A folded note. "You never asked what that mural was supposed to mean." I crumpled it in my hand, shoved it into my pocket, and walked out. Maybe he was right. Maybe I never asked why he drew me always, why he had drawn that mural in the subway, but something in my heart felt heavy. Maybe I was scared to admit. Maybe we both were. Or maybe I had fallen for something that didn't fit in my world. The night air felt colder than it should have. Each step away from the apartment echoed too loudly, like I was walking away from something I hadn't even figured out yet. By the time I reached the station, my chest hurt in that awful way heartbreak sneaks up on you. Not sharp, just heavy. I replayed every line Luciano had ever said. Every smirk, every brush of his hand. Every time he'd looked at me like he was memorizing something I didn't understand. Now I did, and it made it worse. A week later, I'd been crashing at a friend's place at my old building for the past week, telling everyone I just needed a break from noise. Truth was, the silence felt worse. Because even when I tried to sleep, there'd be that one message from Luciano. Every night. Never an apology, just a line or two. Always the same tone. "Hope you're sleeping okay. Don't skip meals again. I left your hoodie by the heater. It still smells like turpentine. Sorry." It was pathetic how I waited. For them. That morning, on my way to class, I saw the tunnel again. The one I swore I'd never step into after everything. The light hit the far wall, and my chest tightened before I even saw what was there. The mural was back. Repainted. Softer. I stopped dead. He'd drawn me again. Hoodie on this time, head tilted just slightly, eyes brighter. The background was washed in golden tones instead of harsh blacks. Underneath, in small neat letters, it said, "Inspiration doesn't always start kind, but it ends with honesty." For a second, I just stood there. Then a stupid laugh escaped me. "You stubborn idiot," I muttered, shaking my head. My throat burned a little. So much for staying mad. The next thing I knew, I was back at our apartment. My heart was racing, palms sweaty, brain yelling, "Don't do it," while my feet ignored everything. The door creaked open to the faint smell of acrylics and coffee. He was there, sitting cross-legged on the floor, a canvas balanced on his knees, fingers stained with color. Same messy curls. Same quiet presence. He looked up, startled for half a second, and then he smiled, small, cautious. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey," I said back, closing the door behind me. My voice cracked like a teenager's. Luciano set the brush aside, wiping his palms on an old rag. "You saw it?" "Yeah," I said. "I saw it." "Too much?" I huffed. "No, just, enough." He nodded once, almost shy. Silence stretched between us. My heart was a mess, beating like it couldn't decide if it wanted to punch him or hug him. Finally, I blurted, "I ruined your work. Twice." He smiled faintly. "And I painted you again. So we're even." That's not how even works. Maybe it is for artists. I'm not an artist. He looked up, eyes meeting mine with that same calm intensity that always got under my skin. You're my art, I groaned, dragging a hand over my face. You really have no off switch, do you? Not when it comes to you. The way he said it, quiet, matter of fact, hit somewhere low in my stomach. Weeks in the days after that blurred together, soft around the edges. I started staying over again, and I think he started painting me again. Mornings became something new. I was brewing coffee while he sketched on the counter, occasionally stealing glances at me when he thought I wouldn't notice. Stop staring, I'd mutter. Then stop looking like a painting, he'd shoot back. You're impossible. You like that about me? I'd hide my smile behind the mug. One evening, I caught him working on something big. I leaned against the doorframe, trying not to look too interested. You need a model? I teased. He didn't glance up. Always. I meant someone clothed this time. He smirked. You can keep the hoodie. Artistic compromise. Pass. Shame, he murmured. You're good light today. Stop saying weird artist things. It's not weird if it's true. I rolled my eyes, but I could feel the grin creeping up before I turned away. Days started to blur. We didn't talk about what happened. We didn't talk about us. But the silence felt different now. Not full of avoidance, but full of something waiting. He painted. I studied. Sometimes I'd bring him coffee. Sometimes he'd drag me to the balcony just to get sunlight on that grumpy face. You're annoying, I'd mumble. You're still here, he'd answer. One night, I caught myself sitting on the floor beside him, watching him paint. The soft swish of the brush filled the room. He glanced at me, lips curving slightly. You know, I can't work with you staring like that. I blinked. Like what? Like you're deciding whether to hate me or kiss me. Both are solid options, I muttered, cheeks burning. He laughed, not the cocky one, but the warm kind, the kind that made my chest feel too tight. A week later came the art exhibition. I went because he told me to. You'll like it this time, he'd said. Promise. The place was crowded, lights bouncing off glass frames, everyone too polished for my taste. Luciano looked nervous, which was new. His usual calm was replaced by that restless energy that only happened when he cared too much. And then I saw the painting. Me again, but laughing. Not posed, not painted like an idea. Just me. Head tilted back, sunlight spilling across my face. I didn't even remember laughing like that. When they announced the winner, his name echoed through the room. He froze for a second, then smiled. This soft, disbelieving smile that reached his eyes. The interviewer asked, "Who inspired this?" Luciano didn't hesitate. My roommate, Yozel. He made me remember why I paint. The crowd clapped. Cameras flashed. My brain short-circuited. Oh my God, I muttered. He did not just... He turned to look at me through the crowd, that same quiet smile tugging at his lips. Yeah, he did. Later that night, when we were back home, I cornered him by the window. You really had to say that in public? He shrugged, peeling off his jacket. Wasn't embarrassment, it was honesty. Still, half the city now thinks I'm My muse? I glared. You're insufferable. He stepped closer, just enough that I could smell the faint paint and soap on his skin. You don't seem too mad about it. I'm choosing peace. That's so? Yeah. Then stop running every time I show you what I feel. His voice dropped, soft but sure. Something in me stilled. For a moment, neither of us moved. Just the hum of the city outside, faint light through the curtains, and that stupid magnetic pull that never stopped being there. I finally said, "You're a stubborn, dramatic artist who doesn't know boundaries." He smiled. And you're a sarcastic, emotionally constipated muse who keeps coming back, I snorted. That's fair. Can I? He started, then stopped, breath catching like he was afraid to finish. I didn't let him. I leaned in. The kiss wasn't planned. It wasn't slow either. Just real. Warm. Familiar. The kind of kiss that felt like coming back home after pretending you didn't need one. He pulled back first, eyes searching mine. So what now? Now, I whispered. Now you stop painting me without permission. Never. I groaned against his smile, but didn't move away. Epilogue. Months later. The apartment's a mess again. Brushes in the sink, coffee stains on the table, a half-finished sketch of me pinned to the fridge. Luciano's on the couch, hair a disaster, shirt smudged with paint. I toss a pillow at him. You gonna win another award with this one? He grins. Maybe. You're still my favorite masterpiece. Yeah, I know, I shoot back, smirking as I flop beside him. He leans over, presses a light kiss to my temple, and says, Don't ever change, Muse. Wouldn't dream of it, I say, smiling. Outside, the city hums, but inside, it's quiet. The kind of quiet that feels full. And for once, I don't mind the silence at all. The end ever had a roommate who accidentally turned your whole damn life into a love story you didn't sign up for? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.